What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of David Confused, number 10. Welcome back to the mass confusion. Before we dive right in, we have a sponsor. This episode of David Confused is brought to you by National Raisins. Have you ever had raisins that are so good to make you hate grapes? National Raisins. Grown here in the Central Valley, local. Support local businesses. National Raisins, I think I just got an update. There's early research that they're actually curing COVID. So, you're going to want to go into the grocery stores, stock up before they sell out. This episode is brought to you by National Raisins. Welcome back, everyone, to the Mass Confusion. I'm your host, Dave. We're on episode 10. If this podcast was a dog, it would be pretty old in dog years. If you want to help me out, help out the pod, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. Or not. Up to you. But I'm going to start this episode off with a question that's been bugging me lately. Did Joe Rogan copy me? Everyone knows the nation's #1 talk show host, aka podcaster, has made the decision to move from LA to Austin, Texas, where I actually lived for about a year in 2018. Am I the reason why Joe Rogan moved? Did I help pave the way for future Californians to make the jump to the Lone Star State? I think so. I'm not going to toot my own horn, but it seems like I was a little ahead of the curve on this one. A lot of people don't know this, but I did live in Texas for about a year. A little backstory on me. Lived in College Station with my friend Wesley Austin Miller the first for a couple months. So I got a feel for Texas A&M and that whole area. Go Aggies. Just kidding, it's pretty much a cult. And then I moved to Austin and I got a job at some tech startup where I basically was on a headset all day talking to people, putting out fires. It was a good experience. I moved out there kind of just on my own, threw all my shit in the car and just drove. I actually did break down on the way, so all my shit I had to leave in Phoenix in my car. But I got it back and it worked out. Austin is a hell of a place. As Matthew McConaughey describes it, it is the blueberry and the tomato soup. That is something I really enjoyed about it. Pretty liberal city in a Republican state. A lot of things to do, really young population. It's a great place to live. But now Rogan's bringing his whole freaking Hollywood crew there. And it's going to go to shit. I'll tell you some stories about me paving the way. I wasn't the first one. There were other people already doing a mass exodus there when I moved in 2018. But I got the brunt of it. Uber drivers shitting on me when I tell them I'm from California. There's one guy who drove me out of the way on my Uber route just to drive me by homeless guys. And he said, "Look, from California, you're bringing your fucking homeless here. Stop it." I was like, dang it. It's my fault, I'm sorry. Cost me an extra 10 minutes in my Uber. So I had to do things like that. I had to crawl so Joe Rogan could walk and run. I think he's going to start a whole cult campus out there, which I might even be apt to join soon. But we'll see. Joe Rogan, you're welcome. if I'm ever on your show, I will bring up this moment. But Texas is a great place. I will go try to visit again. Been there, done that. Back in California. Speaking of Rogan, seems like he's been coming out with a lot of heat lately. The Kanye podcast was a barn burner to say the least. Kanye gets written off by a lot of people as a crazy guy. He goes on rants. I think he's gone through periods of stress where it broke him mentally, and he's better because of it, maybe. I don't know. But after I watched that whole thing, it made him less crazy in my mind, and some of the stuff he actually made sense on. So, does that mean I have to vote for Kanye now? I don't know. Then you segue from that to the Rogan, Alex Jones, Tim Dillon fiesta, where they're talking a bunch of Epstein and Bill Gates and who really runs the nation and the world. That was a bag of chips and a half. I mean, we're getting to the point with media where secrets are being uncovered, crazy shit's going on. Literally don't know what's going to happen every day. Speaking of which, crazy shit is happening here in the 559 Central Valley, right in front of my eyes. I don't watch the news except for the 10-minute window after the Sunday night football game. The Bulldog Insider comes on, and you get a little dash of the news for about 5 minutes before you can find the remote to change it. So in that 5 minutes, I saw that someone had been murdered at Cigar World at Shaw and First or Fresno, whatever that is, by the 41. I've been to that Cigar World plenty of time. They had probably the best deal for chewing tobacco in the Central Valley back in my college days at Fresno State. It sucks that someone had to get shot there and murdered. I think it was over something insignificant. I hate to see it. I charge the laptop. David Confused. It's a blue collar pod. We do it all our own. Ourselves. Doing it ourselves. No crew yet. So I saw that the guy got murdered at Cigar World. That same night, some guy in a wheelchair got taken out at Olive Street and the entrance onto 99, the highway, which, to be honest, probably happens or should happen a lot more, because for some reason when the clock strikes midnight, homeless guys just love to play around on those highway on-ramps, and they're always crossing it with their carts full of valuable goods. Someone finally hit them and just probably exploded like a piñata. Homeless situations running rampant in Fresno as well as the world. It's a problem. Even more troubling news. I was coming home from work and I stopped by Chick-fil-A in River Park, and the whole intersection was blocked off, mostly Knees and Blackstone. A bunch of police tape and a shit ton of cop cars. And I didn't know what was happening, and I asked the Chick-fil-A worker, and she said that there was a protest for Armenia and some guy got stabbed. And I was not expecting that. Did some research. There's actually a video up, and I think it was more like a traffic situation. They were stopping traffic, and the guy got pissed, and then, did what any normal, reasonable person would do, just shanked a couple guys, and then dipped. I would be a liar if I said I hadn't thought about it once or twice. But that was pretty crazy. Leave it to Fresno to have a stabbing at a political event. It probably doesn't even have to do with politics, just sheer anger and stress. a lot of crazy shit happening. I saw an article where esports gamers are starting to have to retire early because of injuries and mental fatigue. So immediately I dove in, and I'm thinking like, okay, you have NFL players that they retire early because, you know, they don't want their bodies to break down. They don't want concussions that are gonna affect them later on. E-gamers, there's no bodily harm, or at least I thought. I read into the article, there was an e-gamer that was trying to make it big, and through countless hours of training, she like tore a tendon in her hand or something. But this is what I don't get. She said she couldn't stop and rest. They have professional teams that I kept reading, and they have professional teams that have coaches that make sure these e-gamers get enough sleep and rest and diet and just live a pretty normal life, similar to almost anyone else that is addicted to their work or something. And once they just made these adjustments of living a healthy life and not just playing video games 24/7, the team felt great. So that's why I was confused with this article, because they said that the number one player in China of some game had to call quits and hang up the cleats early because of mental fatigue. And it's like, I think they said like you can't stop training because then you'll get passed up by other people, but I just think it's a hard knock life for e-gamers, and you got to get that work-life balance. Also, I think it's a lot of excuses. You get carpal tunnel, you play through it. You know? You gotta have that mental fortitude to push through. I try to be professional at Pokemon Go. My thumb hurt a little bit. It's not an excuse. The best thing, now that I pull this article back up, the best thing is that they did some surveys of all these really unhealthy kids on these teams, and they said it was a shocking number of kids had lack of rest, severe lack of fruits and vegetables, and they just virtually never went outside. Sounds like every teenage kid in the USA. Bottom line, no excuse. Play like a champion. Now on to probably everyone's favorite segment, Tales from the Road. Tales from the Road are stories from me driving around, seeing a bunch of different shit, talking to a bunch of different people, getting a pulse of the city and the neighboring towns. I did think, since it's Halloween, I did get right up close and personal with a real witch. I turned down this neighborhood and I was going down these little side streets, and I saw an abnormal amount of black cats. And they all kind of led me to this house, and I opened it up and delivered to an older woman, and kind of made small talk. She didn't really say anything, and then I said something like, oh yeah, like this must be where all the black cats come and hang out. And she did this deep cackle. She showed me her teeth, and they're like straight gone. So had to be a witch or a meth head or a little bit of both, hoarding black cats, making some diabolical cannabis stew potions. I told her to hook me up next time I swing by. I also saw an old man. He was out of shape. He was walking down one of the sidewalks in that neighborhood. Full jeans, full belt, no shirt. It's almost like he forgot to put a shirt on. He's doing his neighborhood walk. I'm not gonna lie, I respected the hell out of it. Just raw power. Just toxic masculinity at its finest. Other thing that happened to me, I did go up to a man's house, and this was may have been my favorite sign that I've ever seen because it had a little gate out front in this guy's patio, and it said, "Beware of the dog and owner." And at first, I kind of laughed to myself, and I was like, "Oh, it's kind of funny." But normally, when you see that, it's like a sign, and it's in kind of silly font, and it's like, oh, someone's walking out of a PetSmart and they see that, or maybe the guy got it as a gift. But no, this guy, as I looked closer, it was printed on printer paper, and it was two different ones taped together in Times New Roman. So this guy made the sign himself to warn people of himself as well as his dog. And at that point, it's like, do I even open this gate? Like, how do I even? I don't want to risk it. I don't know what this guy's deal is. And the weirdest, like, this terrier came out, and it kind of was a yippy little dog, and it was just an old man. And the whole thing was very confusing. I was not expecting that guy to be making that sign. And then he tried to attack me, and I had to use some self-defense. But I'm enjoying driving around. It's nice to get out and get a feel of the valley. Speaking of the valley, Fresno State football is back. They got their asses handed to them by Hawaii, and that one really hurt. If you don't know, and if you're still watching this episode, be sure to catch my betting show, Cashball. It's on my YouTube channel. Check that out, and then check out, we're going to put up some more reviews coming up as soon as I get this goddamn GoPro to work. So keep an eye out for that. And until next week, Dave and Confused 10. Peace.